Hey, fellow coders, welcome back to our series on JavaScript arrays. This is our fourth episode. Our first episode focused on the different methods we can call on a JavaScript array. And episodes 2 and 3, we took a deeper dive into actually utilizing these methods. Today, we will continue that by checking if an array is sorted. What does that mean? Let's say we're given the array 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I want to check if it is in ascending order. So that would mean 1 is less than 2, 2 is less than 3, 3 is less than 4, 4 is less than 5, and that would output a Boolean of true. Whoopsies. True. Now, if we're looking for descending order, this would be false because 1 is not greater than 2. So if it is descending, it will be false. But for simplicity's sake, we will be focusing only on ascending order. Now, if this 3 was an 8, 1 is less than 2, 2 is less than 8, 8 is not less than 4, so we would output a false. So there are a few different approaches we can take to solving this question. The first would be actually just codifying what I just said with a for loop. So the idea would be we compare index 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And we would output an answer. So our first one would be a for loop. Pretty straightforward. Our next one, I guess it's pretty simple, would be to compare the array to the sorted array. So the idea would be that we make a copy of this array, call .sort on it, and then compare the two. But there are some things we need to take into account when we do this that we'll dive deeper into when we get there. Our next one that we can use would be .every, or we can use .sum. It depends on which way you want to check. So the idea here would be with every, we would make sure that every item in this, or every element in this array meets a certain criteria, which would be, it has to be less than the element to the right. And we pass up a Boolean of true, and when we get to the end, we either pass out true or false, depending on if every element in here passes it. And the other way we can do it is with sum, in which case we are passing up a Boolean of, I guess, true, and we are checking if any of or some of them make it false. And our last one would be using the reduce method, in which case we are doing a similar thing, comparing each element and passing along the true or false Boolean. Now the time complexity and the space complexity are pretty much all the same except for using the sort method. So for time complexity, we loop, we look at everyone, and our time complexity would be O of n for 1, 2, and 4. However, for number 2, our time complexity is a little bit different. First up, we have to sort the array, and the best case scenario would be n log n for sorting an array, and then we have to go through it n more times. So that'd be 2n log n, which we would just drop down to n log n. So our big O would be n log n. For space complexity, very similar as well for all of these, except for number 2. Again, for the for loop, we only make one index variable, but that doesn't matter. And with these, we don't need to track any variables except for the Boolean we pass along. So these would be O of 1. However, because we need to make a copy of the array for number 2, that would be O of n. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. So first up, let's see, will be our for loop function. function is sorted loop, and inside we will pass it an array. The idea here would be for let I. We use I because we need to compare the indexes. We don't need to look at individual numbers. We need to look at multiple different indexes inside of the array. We have I equals 0. I is less than array. But here we need to, array.length, we need to change it up a bit because we want to stop before we get to the last element. We want to stop here, 1 before the last element, because if we look at the last element and compare it, it's not going to be good. So we have to say array.length -1, and we will increment I. So here we say if we're checking array at I is greater than array at I plus 1. And again, if it was in descending order, it would be the opposite. We would say array of I is less than. But here we're looking for ascending order right now, and we will return false. And if we make it out of this for loop, we will return true, in which case it is in fact sorted. So let's go ahead and check it out. Console log is sorted loop, and we will pass it the array 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And over here, when I run it, we should see true. And we do get true. And if I change this 3, 2, and 8, it should be false. And we get false. So that is one method or one approach of solving this question. Our next one is to compare the array to a sorted array. So this is kind of, I guess, an easy way to think about it. So we can say function is sorted sort. a bit wordy. And then here we'll say let sorted equal array. But we don't want to just set it to the array. We want to make a complete copy, a shallow copy that is not tied to it at all. And then here we say sorted.sort, and then remember we sort by doing A, B, not arguments, but not abort controller. My goodness. Do A, B, okay, where A minus B. Okay, and then here we do return. And why do we have to make a copy? Why can't I say let array equals array? If let sort equal array, if I do that, then I sort it up, it would change it. So we don't want to do that. And another thing we have to do is we have to use JSON. If I say if return sorted equals array, even if it is false, we're not checking if the elements in sort is equal to array. We're checking if sorted and array is equal to array, which is an array. So we're comparing is array equal to array in JavaScript, and it will say true no matter what is inside. So what we want to do is we want to use JSON.stringify, and we pass it sorted. What this does is it converts it to a string, pretty much. So we will be checking a string against a string, which is what we want to do in this case. And here we'll do JSON.stringify, and inside we will pass it the original array. And let's go down a little bit. Console.log, and inside we'll say is sorted sort. And inside we will pass it the array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let us reset this real quick. I'll run it and it will say true over here. Good. And if I change this 3 to an 8 and I say run, it will say false. That is correct. So what this actually does is that it compares these values here. It would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, I guess in this case 8, 4, 5 is equal to the string of 1, so that wouldn't be 8 there. It would be 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 is equal to 1, 2, 8, 4, and 5. It's basically comparing these two strings against each other. And because we're comparing strings, we're looking at the actual string itself. And because they're not matching, it comes back as false. But if we don't use JSON stringify, the concept would be array. I guess the idea would be the data structure of array is equal to a data structure of array, and that would return true no matter what. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll get rid of this. Our next approach that we will look at is using the .every. You can use .sum if you want to go the other way, but in this case we will be using .every. And what we will do is we'll come down here, function is sorted every, and again we'll pass it in array. And over here we will do this. We'll do return array dot every, and inside we'll break it down into element and index. We don't want capital E, we want lowercase e, element and index. So you can do this when you use .every or .sum. You can get the actual index and you can take it out of as we go through. But you need to use the term index, okay? Basically what we want to do is we will do return index equals 0. So the idea would be we are checking if the index is 0. If not, we will compare it to the element to the left. In that case, we have to say element is greater than or equal to array at index minus 1. Yeah, we could do it that way. We could also do index is equal to array.length minus 1 and less than array at index plus 1. That is the other way we can do it. But just for simplicity's sake, I don't want to keep looking at array.length. We will do it the other way, and we will compare it to index minus 1. We're checking it to the left. And yeah, that's basically the whole function right there. So what we do is we have an element, we compare it to the index to the left, and we have to make sure every element passes this, either one of these two checks. Okay. And that is how we do it. We do console.log, and inside we'll say is sorted every, and inside we'll pass it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We will reset this and run it, and it will come back true. And again, if we put 9 in here, what we get is a false. So that is our .every method. And we'll move on to our last method. We're running out of time. I'm trying to go as quick as possible, which would be the reduce method. Basically, the idea with the reduce method is that we have a Boolean variable that we pass along that will change depending on if an element inside of the array does not meet a specific criteria. So we'll do this one. Function is sorted and reduce. We will pass it in array. And similar to the previous one, we'll say return array dot reduce. And again, we will take our Boolean is sorted. We will take our current, which is where we not every, just is sorted. We'll take our current, which is our current value, and we'll also pass along our index. Again, you can take the index out with this one here. So the idea would be if our index, similar to line 35, we have to check for the first one, is equal to 0, then we will return true. So this return here just makes the thing that we pass along, we'll keep it as true. Else, we'll not do that. We'll do this. We will return is sorted. So we have to make sure that our previous answer is this, is true. Is sorted. And we have to check it with our current one. So, and our current value is greater than or equal to array of index minus 1. And we'll also be passing along the original value of true. This is where we start at. And yeah. Oops. We'll do that. So just to be consistent, in case we don't have unique elements. And we'll go ahead and check this out. Console.log, and inside we'll do is sorted, and we'll do reduce. Inside we'll pass it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We will reset and run, and we'll get true. And for this one, we'll pass it in an 8, and we will get false. So just to make sure you understand what's going on with this one, we'll pass in our first one, which is 0. The 0 index will automatically return true. And then we'll move on to index 1. So our is sorted is true already. Our current is the number 2, the value of 2, and our index would be 1. So we'll say is sorted, so it's already true. That's true, yes. And this here is also true. Current, which is 2, is greater than or equal to array at index minus 1, which would be this one here. That would also be true. So we have true and true, which would then return true. If this was, and then we'll move on to our next one. So is sorted, we're on index number 2 of 8. Is sorted is true from our previous checks. Our current value is 8. Our index is 2. So index of 2 is not 0, so we skip this part and we go here is sorted, and that is true, that is correct. And our current is greater than or equal to index minus 1, that is also true. We'll move on to 4. So is sorted is true, our current value is 4, index is 3. Index is not 0, so we move on. Is sorted is true, that is correct, and current is greater than or equal to index minus 1, that is false. So we have true and false. So because they're both not true, we will return false. And we get to our last one here. So is sorted is false, our current is 5, our index is 4, index is not 0, we move on. Is sorted is false, and current is greater than or equal to array minus 1, array of index minus 1. That is true, so we have false over here, but this is true. And because they're both not true, we return false, and that is our last value return, which would be this value here, this false over here. Yeah, so pretty much those are 4 different ways to solve this question. I hope you understand which ones you would choose personally based on our time and space complexity, with the idea being don't choose this one here. But the other ones, it's up to you, and it depends on, I guess, what you want to implement. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. If you have any comments, questions, or you need feedback on anything, feel free to leave a comment below. And yeah, thank you so much.